Good day, students. So, I hope you remember that yesterday we started with figures of speech, and we had already done two figures of speech, namely simile and metaphor. Just for a revision, let me tell you that simile and metaphor both are comparisons, but there is a difference but there is a similarity also. What is the similarity between simile and metaphor? The similarity is that both are figures of speech in which there is a comparison between two different things on the basis of one or more common qualities. And let me tell you that conceit is also a comparison between two things. Then how is conceit different from simile and metaphor? The difference between simile and metaphor was the use of words like and as in a simile, and a metaphor does not use like and as. But there is a difference between comparison in the conceit and in simile and metaphor, and the basic difference is the commonness of comparison. Simile and metaphor compare those things which are comparable, which are traditional, and which we have heard from time immemorial. For example, it is very common comparison which is established between a beautiful face and the moon. It is very common for poets to compare a beautiful face with a flower of rose or with lotus. It's normal, and we have heard of this comparison, and it is traditional and common thing. But a conceit is such an example in which a poet establishes comparison or a parallel between those things which we think are incomparable. They are called unconventional comparisons. They are called conceits. And they are far-fetched comparisons. Far-fetched comparison means those comparisons about which we cannot think of. They are not common. For example, poets from time immemorial have been comparing a teardrop either with a water drop or with a dewdrop. So they use either a simile or a metaphor in order to compare a teardrop with a drop of water or dewdrop. But what if a poet compares a teardrop to a globe, the globe of earth? So it is a very non-traditional, unconventional comparison about which we can't think of. This type of comparison is called conceit, far-fetched comparison. So, in one of his poems, John Donne, the metaphysical poet, he compares a teardrop to a globe. So, that would not be a metaphor, that would not be a simile, because what I told you that simile and metaphor, in a simile and metaphor, a thing is compared to that thing which is known for its quality, which becomes the basis of comparison. For example, yesterday I told you that John is a tiger. This is an example of metaphor. So tiger is known for its strength. Meena is as beautiful as a flower. So this is an example of simile. And flower, rose or a lotus, it is known for its beauty. So there is no need to say that Meena's face is beautiful. It is a very natural sort of comparison. It is a comparison about which we all feel very comfortable, because this type of comparisons have been used many times by many poets since time immemorial. But if we come across a very uncommon comparison, then it makes us think, what is comparable between these two things? For example, when John Donne establishes a comparison, a parallel between a teardrop and a globe, So naturally he has some hidden meaning behind it, and the hidden meaning is that in the teardrop of his beloved he sees his world, he sees his globe, he sees his world. That is why he compares the beloved's teardrops to a globe. So now that is a very, very uncommon comparison. So that is a very good example of conceit. Next example is that in one of his poems, John Donne, he compares a pair of lovers to a pair of compass. Generally, a couple of lovers or a pair of lovers, it is compared with a pair of birds, love birds we say, but he compares a pair of lovers or the lover and a beloved to a set of compass. Now again this is a very uncommon, non-traditional comparison. Now he has sense, he has logic behind this comparison. And what is this logic? He says that both these two people are like a set of compass with which we make a circle. The beloved is the fixed foot of the compass and the lover is the running foot, the movable foot of the compass. So when the fixed foot is immovable, it seems as if it is immovable, but it moves slowly with the other leg, and both these legs make a circular movement. The movement of the other leg and the steadfastness of the fixed leg both contribute with each other to make a good circle. So the steadfastness, the steadiness, the firmness of the beloved attracts the lover, and he makes a circle and comes again where he starts. Means he will go nowhere, he will not leave the beloved. Plus one more thing is important, that both the legs of the compass, they seem apart from below, but from above, from the upper end, they are fixed, they are joined. So in the same way, when the lover and beloved, they are departed, they seem to be departed, but they are not departed in real, they are internally connected. In the poem Go and Catch a Falling Star by John Donne, though I have said that it is a metaphor, but we can also call it a conceit, because no other poet has compared the journey to the beautiful and loyal lady with a pilgrimage. Pilgrimage is a totally different journey, and going towards the beloved is a totally different journey. But he compares both these journeys on the basis of the feeling of devotion, on the basis of the feeling of worship, with which the poet will set off from his home to meet the lady who is beautiful and who is loyal. So here also it is an example of conceit. Then in one of his poems, Andrew Marvell says, "My vegetable love grows." Now no other poet has compared love with vegetable, but he has done so. So this is also an example of metaphysical conceit. So what is a conceit? Conceit is a figure of speech. It is a comparison like simile and metaphor, but unlike simile and metaphor, it is an uncommon comparison. It is not common, a comparison with which we are not aware of, we haven't heard of. So I hope now you know the difference between simile and metaphor, and simile, metaphor and conceit. All these three are comparisons, but simile is a comparison between two different things on the basis of one or more common qualities, using the words as and like. In the same way, metaphor also compares two different things on the basis of one or more common characteristics, but metaphor does not use as and like. And conceit In a conceit, what happens? A thing is compared with something very, very abnormal, something very, very unconventional. So, now I think it is clear for you. Now, let us do another figure of speech, and the name of that figure of speech is hyperbole. 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 You must have heard in Hindi Atishayokti. I hope you must have heard this word Atishayokti. What is Atishayokti? Overstatement, exaggeration. Overstatement means given more stress to a thing to explain than it is necessary. So hyperbole is overstatement. Hyperbole is exaggeration of a thing or a fact or a point. There are a lot of examples in our course of study where we come across exaggeration. So exaggeration means overstatement. So for example, when in the poem Go and Catch a Falling Star, he says that if you take a round of the whole world, first of all, the example of exaggeration is ride 10,000 days and nights. And we all know that nobody can ride 10,000 days and night. It is very tough for us to ride 10,000 days and nights. So this is also an example of hyperbole. And another very powerful example of hyperbole is that he says that in this journey of 10,000 days and nights, you will come and swear that there are a lot of wonders which you came across, but in this whole world, in this whole journey, you found no woman. You will swear that you found no woman who is at once beautiful and loyal. So this is a very, very powerful example of hyperbole. Plus, this poem, Go and Catch a Falling Star by John Donne, is filled with hyperbole only. When he says that, go and catch a falling star, it is an example of hyperbole because we know that it is not possible for us to go and catch a falling star. Get with child a mandrake root. Again, we know that no human baby can be born out of a mandrake root. Tell me where all past years are. We all know that it is impossible to trace the history of the commonest of people of each and every era since the origin of this earth. Teach me mermaid singing. We have heard about mermaids, but we don't know whether mermaids really exist or not. Or keep off envy's stinging. Here again, we know that it is not possible to keep off envy's stinging. But he says that all these things are possible. All these things are possible, but it is impossible.